One person's dream is so many people's joke.
Adapt or die.
So the first season of this podcast is going to focus on big opportunity, especially in the context of AI.
Is AI going to disrupt SaaS and enterprise applications? Absolutely yes. Is AI going to disrupt a lot more? Absolutely yes.
If someone is at 10 million, they open their playbook for the ones who are at 5 to 10 million itself.
I think that that's the whole small town dream that you can also make it big, and there's no limit, right? It's the uncapped market. Opportunity is also playing a lot into it.
Hunger for building a software company now is possible from a Surat or an Indore and all that.
There are 7 billion photographers in the world today. Why?
So welcome viewers to this podcast. It's a new podcast. The whole idea of this podcast was conceived, with Avinash over a long period of time and all of us put together. The common mission that unites all of us is India as a product nation, which started with Avinash in 2004. Then all of us joined, and today it's 6,500 plus companies. So the idea of this is also aligned with India's mission of 2047 of being a developed nation, which is $30 trillion in economy, and how we as an ecosystem can contribute to that. There is a template that we built as how to create India for the world. Entire journey is kind of, now the steps are laid. Obviously, every journey is different, but at least a lot of learning has been consolidated. So the vision of this platform is to bring together those opportunities, talk about it so that next generation of entrepreneurs can create, multi-billion dollar companies, generational companies, even smaller companies, which all contribute to GDP eventually, and therefore contribute to India dream and contribute to Nation 2047 dream as such. So that's the idea of this podcast. So the first season of the podcast is going to be the next big opportunity. So that's what we're going to talk about here. So before we dive into the big opportunity of building Indian global products from India, I would love to start with the origin story of SaaSBoomi as to how SaaSBoomi come together. So the first season of this podcast is going to focus on big opportunity, especially in the context of AI, where everything is up for grabs or is changing. There's a big opportunity that we see for Indian entrepreneurs to make their mark in domestic market and globally as well. So how do we build a narrative where our founders really understand where are the large opportunities? When I talk about opportunities, we're going to explore how AI is going to impact or being a threat to existing businesses, and how new opportunities may emerge, where you can build either small businesses or large businesses, $1 billion market cap, or maybe $100 billion market cap as the AI waves roll in. So in this series of podcasts on next big opportunity, we're going to take one theme and explore about the opportunity and go depth in that. Today's episode is with Girish Mathrubootham of Freshworks, Suresh Sambandam of Kissflow, and Avinash, CEO of SaaSBoomi. We're going to talk about a larger theme of building Indian products for the world. How do you really look at this entire opportunity and go after building large businesses from India? So welcome Girish, Suresh and Avinash. Thank you for making it to Bangalore. It's raining heavily in Bangalore these days. Of course, Chennai is the same these days. And I know you've taken a train first time, Vande Bharat train.
Not first time, meaning after a long time.
No, I haven't been in Vande Bharat actually. Is it good?
Really nice experience. I enjoyed it.
I still remember our days going in bus. Avinash, if you remember, way back in 2014-15.
Yeah.
SaaSX, going in bus to Chennai full. And that's how the whole SaaS
SaaS bus.
ecosystem,
SaaS
bus came into flow. So with that, I will introduce the whole podcast for the first time. See, the idea is that all of us have been involved in India as a product nation, a dream which we have seen or worked over last, I would say, more than 15 years or a little bit like 2 decades, especially from your vantage point, Avinash. Sure. And what brought us together was we saw the opportunity that India has done brilliantly well in services. And now, it's time where India can make the same mark in the product business. That's how our journey started, especially you from NASCOM, then coming into the whole product nation. And that's how actually you were the one who's kind of sutradhar of bringing all of us together in this journey. So with this, I want to formally introduce Avinash. Avinash is now the CEO of SaaSBoomi, a reluctant CEO. He likes to call himself chief evangelist.
Pushed into the CEO role.
But Avinash is something who is an architect of product nation. Girish sometimes refers to him as father of product nation. I still remember at the seminal moment of Freshworks IPO with Girish, his family and dog. And Avinash, and I could not join. I could not had a visa that time, COVID days.
Sure.
So coming from that perspective, Avinash has been one who has been a silent worker over last 20 years. Tireless worker. Everybody relates to him. genuinely thinking about people, founders, both from business and personal side. And that's how today this thought of Product Nation started with an experiment in iSpirit and then became a full-fledged movement in SaaSBoomi today. And we'll talk about SaaSBoomi while we talk more about with Avinash, but what SaaSBoomi actually does, especially for new generation of entrepreneurs who are just coming into the field today.
Sure.
And Girish Mathrubootham, he introduced himself as employee number 1 at Freshworks, the most successful IPO from India, the first large SaaS IPO in NASDAQ, reached 30 billion valuation. And what a journey, Girish. From 2010 till now, you have seen upside. You have been a flag bearer of India. And I really loved the moment when I saw Indian flag on NASDAQ. I think the first Indian company to do that. That was something which touched my heart. Of course, and wife, Shobha wearing sari, that also was very big moment for Indian ecosystem. And that has inspired, so many generations of entrepreneurs. The people who are coming today, people who are with us, and all of us started all together. We remember you discussing with us at some time, I want to pivot the name from Fresh Test to Freshworks. And the journey has been really, really good. So welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Manav. And it's always a pleasure to chat with this group, Avinash, Suresh, and Manav. And since we talked about the IPO, I would like to share on a lighter note. You talked about the Indian flag on NASDAQ Times Square and my wife wearing a sari. So there were 4 emotions that got triggered during the IPO. So the first one obviously was, and so many people wrote to me about it, and they used the same word, like goosebumps, when they saw the Indian national flag in the US with Americans holding it, and we were doing our IPO. So that was a dominant emotion. And then a lot of WhatsApp groups of my employees' moms were discussing the Kanjivaram silk sari that my wife was wearing. So we know for women, the silk sari is an emotion. Third emotion that got picked up was from dog lovers.
Yeah.
So there were people who said, okay, if this doesn't show that why you should love your dog, nothing else would convince you, right? Because as part of my family, like my family was allowed to be at the IPO stage, then we want to take my dog also because he's part of our family. And then the fourth and last emotion, let me ask Suresh, can you guess what was the last emotion?
Is it the Product Nation or?
No, it is Superstar.
Superstar.
So our IPO was called Project Superstar.
Okay.
And so our quiet period was not so quiet because all the media talked about that. and I think all these 4 are big emotions, and it just happened. We didn't engineer it, but sometimes some things happen naturally. It was beautiful to see all these 4 emotions coming together.
Yeah, it's called destiny and hard work comes together, right? At the right timing.
That's wonderful.
And Suresh, I really love your work, what you have done on entrepreneurship. I think Suresh was the first one among us who said, India can become $1 trillion. And I just fell off chair. I remember in Chennai. At that time, SaaS has...
That was a joke at that time.
Yeah. And we could back into the
dream.
Yeah.
2014-15, we were only 40 SaaS companies, right? Today, if you look at SaaS and AI companies for B2B, India for the world, which we're going to talk about here, has 6,500 plus companies, right? So 2015, people thought, okay, you had too many drinks that night. Let's talk about that today, right? And later on, of course, and we...
One person's dream is so many people's joke.
So Suresh is the CEO and founder of Kissflow. He's again building from Chennai to the world, low-code, no-code platform. And he started an accelerator also called Mudal VC.
Mudal VC.
Mudal VC. And big proponent of entrepreneurship, working a lot with Tamil Nadu government and making sure, every tier 3, tier 4, tier 5 towns, the movement really expands. So really love your work, Suresh.
Thank you.
And
Thanks,
really
Manav.
good to have you here.
Good to be here with this group. We've been doing it for like 10 years now, more than 10 years.
Yes.
14 years actually.
14 years.
Freshworks times, if you think about it, right?
So with that, I introduced the vision of this podcast. Girish and of course are also partners in together now. We're also friends. We travel together. And of course, talking to Avinash and looking at almost 3,500 companies at Together Fund, which Girish and I started in 2021. What we found out is that, SaaS, of course, is very, very big. Let me call SaaS is a business model, but B2B businesses globally is an uncapped market opportunity for Indian firms, right? But the vision of this whole thing of India Product Nation is a lot more aligned with 2047 vision that Prime Minister has rolled out for India, which is $30 trillion economy, perhaps SaaS or B2B global business from India can become $1 trillion in market cap, contribute a lot to GDP and jobs. So when I was thinking about it and a lot of insights from my new avatar as a venture capitalist in Together Fund, what came across is that where entrepreneurs really tend to struggle is to understand where is the next big opportunity. We have a lot of talent in India. I'm really, really enthused to see young people coming from obviously our IITs, engineering college, tier 3, tier 4 towns. They have fire in them. They have talent, very good engineering quality. They have the grit to build global companies from India. We have seen that. And thanks to the work, not paid forward work that all of us and the entire SaaSBoomi community has done. So Avinash, as during introduction we discussed, you are the architect of entire India product nation. Can you explain for our audience who do not know SaaSBoomi, outside of SaaS community, what does SaaSBoomi does? What is the magic?
So first of all, thank you, Manav, for having me. This is the first time I'm being on a show, and you are also someone who started the entire thing on coffee itself. You are one of the sales guy who starts the conversation on coffee, and you also
and we have the coffee, all the filter coffee.
Yes. Yeah. See, for me, a little story about SaaSBoomi and SaaSX, how it got all started was, I think in 2014, I was in Chennai. Some eureka moment where I felt, hey, there is Zoho here, there is Freshworks, there is Kissflow, there is ChargeBee, all SaaS companies here. And SaaStr had already started. They were making a lot of noise about SaaS community and all that. So I wrote an email to probably Suresh, Girish, and Shekhar saying, hey, US does SaaStr. Can we do something in Chennai? I think the fastest response was Girish, yeah, anything for Chennai itself. That's how it got started. And probably the first one, we put together a small event, and probably Suresh and I actually did the entire event, everything on Excel. One Saturday, we get on a call, close everything. And the first one probably had 40, 50 founders, some friends, some investors and all that. We got started itself. And today, it's a movement where we have close to 4,000 founders, which are part of this network. And what SaaSBoomi does is, it opens up, the founders open their playbook, help the next generation of founders itself. So if someone who's scaled to 2 million will open up his playbook for the one who's starting up early. If someone is at 10 million, they open their playbook for the ones who are at 5 to 10 million itself. So it's become a platform where all founders have bonded very well, and they're open to sharing their own playbooks itself. Those are two big things that we've done. Plus, apart from all of this, we've also been able to make some good connections with VCs, with the CXO community and all that. We've not really played the market-making role, but it's more to inspire and learn from each other. That's really what we've been doing.
So you have to summarize it as a place where somebody who has the dream, vision, or even experimentation way of building global products from India, which is, for example, Freshworks, who's focused on giving businesses across customer relationship, customer support software, or Kissflow, which is a low-code, no-code platform for enterprises. Sure. If they have some vision like that, they see an opportunity, they can actually write to you or any volunteer in SaaSBoomi, and therefore try to understand how a journey would start. Sure. Whether you are a college graduate in college, or you are a working professional, or you have second or third time founder. And Girish, from your perspective, of course, you responded the fastest. So what made you respond at that point in time?
Okay, I was anyway going to share this tidbit. I think at that point of time, all the Chennai founders were tired of going to Bangalore for every startup event. So we wanted to create our own event, right? And that was the need. I'll also share an interesting tidbit. So the first meeting, the 40 founders that we got, we actually called it an unconference, right? It happened in the Park Hyatt Hotel in Chennai.
Veranda.
In the conference, the meeting hall, a banquet hall is called Veranda. And we had no agenda. It was an unconference because, we somehow managed to find 40 folks from all across, all over India who were building global products. And we all came together and said, okay, how do we try and create an ecosystem for ourselves? Meaning, like we were just asking questions, answering. Suresh, I remember, I still have pictures where Suresh is moderating everything. Funny tidbit I would like to add is last week, we had our employee refresh event at Freshworks and on Saturday evening. So Saturday morning, my entire management team, we were doing dance rehearsals and we were doing it at that same room and I was sharing the whole SaaSBoomi founding story with them. So,
wow. Very interesting. I just want to add one thing here. See, when we got together, we found, we all always talk about Silicon Valley. How is it growing? How can we replicate that success in India? And we found out that the ecosystem strength is the one that makes Silicon Valley really what it is. And what we mean by ecosystem strength is everybody help each other. And you can go find founders who can help each other so that they don't make the old mistakes. See, opening a playbook simply means that you don't make the same old mistakes. Let's make some new mistakes. It's well said thing, but often it's not easy to practice this. So I think that is the crux of what we added to the ecosystem, if you have to really say that. And we believe that if you build the ecosystems, then everybody else will come, founders will come, the compounding effect will happen, VC will come, they will fund the companies. But that whole chain reaction, if it has to get started, the ecosystem has to be there. And I think we should, thanks to Girish, I think he first opened the $0 to $1 million playbook. At that time, I think Freshworks was 5 to 10 million. 5 million. And we were basically literally saying, okay, this is how we got to 1 million, right? And that was very unheard of. And maybe at that time, there are people in the audience who are also building maybe some help desk software. We don't even know sometimes, right? So although we say non-competing companies sometimes be there, but it's very hard to enforce all these things. But then there is this blind confidence and the sense of contributing helped Girish, and subsequently I did it for Kissflow, what we did. And then everybody started following that pattern.
Yeah, I remember. I think
can I add a point on that?
I think one of the magic of is being vulnerable. See, I think I haven't seen a community so far, at least in India, in my experience, where people are talking about their mistakes very openly and they're very happy sharing. I think that vulnerability brought about the honesty in sharing, and that brought out the context, and that created the flywheel of then creating a ecosystem. People
have come offline and told me, how are you guys sharing all these business secrets? Meaning, I was like, never thought it's like a business secret, right? Because in the traditional world, at least in the Chennai ecosystem, the business guys keep everything, like the difference between a startup founder in SaaSBoomi versus a business guy who is running a business is like they keep everything to their heart and they don't tell how they became successful. But here we're saying, okay, this is what we did. This is the SEO we did. This is the thing that we did. This is the Google AdWords we ran, campaign we ran. This is the conversion we got. Meaning we say all these things. How do you say all these business secrets to everybody else, right? So that's really how people come and talk about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I wanted to actually add some context on why we did that, right? Yeah. So if you really think about it, so it's not just about conventional business. Even startup founders used to hold all their metrics closer to their chest.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, I don't want to share my website conversion rates. I don't want to share my AdWords spend data and what am I getting for it. What number is the right number of leads per salesperson. Yeah. So I think the reason why I decided to do that was, hey, we are all a bunch of young startups with 1 million, 2 million in revenue. There are so many companies outside with hundreds of millions of dollars. If we don't share and learn, how are we going to compete against this? And I'm sharing something that I learned 2 years ago. My success is not dependent on that. I don't have to hold on to that. I have to hold on to or think about what I'm going to do next year. So I think my analogy for that is, I've always believed in being like a sponge. And it's a great thing, even personally. Like you want to absorb as much as you can and then give back by squeezing the sponge. You give back everything so that you have actually you can absorb more, right? So giving out a lot of stuff actually frees you up to start thinking about more things. So I think that was the mindset, especially when we are not going to win anything by actually having this mindset. So let's be vulnerable, let's share. And we share with knowing that we may not be the best, but maybe people can look at it and then they can improve and even get better.
Yeah, actually, more you give, more you get.
Yeah.
That's what
givers get more.
Yeah,
givers get more.
Yeah,
but one more thing I will say, me and Girish share one common thing. We both are teachers or trainers. And one of the fundamental things I learned as a trainer is when you train or teach others, you tend to learn a lot more than what you actually sit on the other side. If you want to learn something, one of the fastest ways to learn is declare yourself you're going to do a training session on some topic. I'm damn sure you're going to, because you're going to teach some 10 people and somebody's going to ask one stupid, tough question. So you're going to be preparing for that, right? So when you start teaching people, you learn a lot.
Absolutely.
And
And I still remember when Avinash called me saying, can you talk about, because I was a sales guy, only, sales guy in the group, talking about go-to-market motion, remember discussing the sales commission, how to hire salespeople. But I think for the new entrepreneurs who are listening, we encourage you to pay it forward. Please come forward and, every year things changes. You are the one who are learning on the ground, especially with AI coming in. So more you share, more you get. So that's the mantra. So if you have to summarize, Avinash, last decade plus journey of SaaSBoomi, what is the impact it has created?
So for me, it's been almost 2 decades. But actually, the last 15 years is where I've started seeing some impact in terms of how companies started off like a boot camp. 2015-16, the famous boot camp that we did in Mysore. What Fix was one of the companies, probably 100K, 200K. But today they're probably getting to 100 million itself in revenue. And he really acknowledges the learnings, the insight that he got from, some of these playbooks, from the session that we did there. And many of the companies have actually been able to take this on, get these insights, been able to implement in their business itself. So many companies, found their exits because of the ecosystem itself. Many of them have been able to find their early customers because of whatever we've done as a group and all that. So these are things that we've done. But if you really look at it, we've been able to get companies to move from one stage to the other stage itself. And a lot of this is something which we don't really measure. But when people give this one-on-one feedback and all that, they say, hey, all this happened because we learned at the SaaSBoomi playbook roundtable or at the bootcamp.
So for our audience, I think WalkMe is a $800 million market cap company. Kadam is the co-founder. All of us know him very fondly.
What Fix?
What Fix, yeah.
WalkMe is their competitor.
WalkMe is the competition, sorry. Yeah. What Fix is today $800 million market cap company. They are competing with WalkMe, which is acquired by SAP, I think, just recently. And Kadam has done a brilliant job in putting India on the map, at least in the domain he's working right now.
Yeah.
So I just want to summarize that. But I think I think impact is also beginning to quantify now, given that every SaaSBoomi that we have come. So if you look at our annual events, right, it started with 100, then 200. And how big was the last event? How many people we had?
We had close to 1,500 people.
So 1,500 founders only.
Yeah.
1,500 founders only in one particular area in Chennai. And we were struggling to find a space in Chennai, right, for the first time.
Yeah.
Because we have so much of incoming crowd. And we have now today 6,500 plus companies, right? Number has grown from 40 in 2015. In 2024, looking at 6,500 plus companies and growing.
Right.
Second dimension of impact, which I think I would love to bring forward, is number of entrepreneurs coming from tier 3, tier 4 towns, right? We have Surat, Bhopal, Nagpur, Chandigarh. So can you give some color? I know you travel around India, you do all these events, and you are in touch with the entrepreneur. So what are you seeing right now?
So what I see over there is that hunger for building a software company now is possible from a Surat or an Indore and all that. And a lot of these guys are so hungry to learn. They will come to, the headquarters, which is Chennai, learn, go back and share with their own friends and, other founders and all that. Today, I think it just become very inspirational for these guys to say, hey, if someone can do it from Chennai, we'll also do it from here itself. And many of these are services companies itself, but now building products itself. And every corner in this nation, I think there is someone out there building for the India market or for the global market, because it doesn't really matter that you have to be in a metro or something. You can build software from anywhere.
Probably should start an Indian flag movement, have flag hosted, all the companies that are out there, right? So it's a proud mission.
See, if every entrepreneur is a smartphone, okay, SaaSBoomi is the place where you get an operating system upgrade once in a while and get a recharge emotionally. That's SaaSBoomi. For founders who are starting up, you need to get periodic updates on how to build your business. So it's an operating system upgrade on how building a global business and a recharge for your personal self.
Yeah, we've truly gone from Nokia moment to start smart moment on SaaS for sure.
Yeah.
That I can show for sure.
I think the other reason why I'm seeing like the tier 2, tier 3 towns are flourishing is, see, the playbook has been shared, and now it's not very difficult to be, previously you have to be in a location to get access to knowledge. Now SaaSBoomi shares the playbook and we run the roundtables nearer to the location.
I think I also want to bring the beauty of the business model.
Yeah.
I want to take a minute on that.
Yeah.
See, if you look at the per capita income of India is still pretty low, right?
Very
So
low.
if you go to tier 3, tier 4 town, you could probably get a job of 1 lakh, 2 lakh per month or 3 lakh. If a mid-size founder who's working in a company in Infosys or a Wipro Services company founder, he earns maybe 2-3 lakhs a month. But typical SaaS companies, we have now today more than 1,000 companies touching $1 million in annual revenue, right? Let's say they can be profitable sitting in a small town. You can create the product sitting in India, sell to a global audience.
Correct.
You can actually take 2 to 3 crores profit home, which I think is a brilliant lifestyle. You have employed at least 20 to 50 people. You are known in your local communities. You're contributing to society in a meaningful way. And you are a star of the town because you're selling to the global world. So I think that also is contributing a lot. And then from there, mass of those 6,500 companies, we have obviously Freshworks. And Girish and I came from both small towns. I came from Morgan, Punjab. He's from Trichy, right? We went to very local colleges, right? So
I'm from Kadalur.
Yeah, you're from Kadalur, right? So and
you are a
Avinash is
lot
only
from
odd man out
big-
from Metro City. So I think that's the whole small town dream that you can also make it big.
Yeah.
And there's no limit, right? It's an uncapped market. Opportunities also playing a lot into it. And then when SaaSBoomi gives the support, I think that then is a recipe of a brilliant movement that is coming together. Actually, that's what we are seeing. So I want to now segue into the second segment. As we have seen with the advent of ChatGPT in November of 2022, suddenly, over the last 1.5 years, suddenly the narrative of SaaS has a lot of question marks. And SaaS, again, for the audience, is a business model where you sell software on a subscription basis. For example, a lot of us use Microsoft 365 email, which is we log into account, use the email, Microsoft charges you $10 or $20 per month. Or in your companies, you're using CRM software like Freshworks or Salesforce. So all those are called SaaS softwares, right? So there's a big question mark with the advent of AI. Is SaaS dead? So Girish, obviously you're the flag bearer. I would first come to you and understand what is your view on that? How do you see the entire landscape changing with generative AI?
First of all, let us start from the context of the India opportunity and the product nation dream. So I would say SaaS presented the first catalyst of progressing towards that dream. Like people can build global SaaS product companies like we all have built and start contributing that. Now, AI is a disruption that has happened, which is going to be far more widespread than just enterprise applications alone. Now, to answer the question in context, how is AI going to disrupt SaaS? So if you look at the B2B enterprise application space, all SaaS companies have to adapt to this new world where there are going to be autonomous workflows in enterprise apps. Take customer service for an example. So a lot of humans are doing customer service. AI agents can actually do 50, 60 or 90% of that customer service. So in that sense, the traditional SaaS licensing model of charging based on per seat model will be disrupted. But the same software company, if they adopt and adapt to AI, so you could be the provider of the technology, like what we're working on in Freshworks, to be able to get more from the customer for this tech that you're providing. And it's a win-win because, see, we were all excited about the software TAM. Like if you take customer service, the TAM was about $37 billion globally. Now, if autonomous workflows are coming, the salary TAM, I call it salary TAM, $350 billion is the salary of call center workers and customer service employees. And a lot of that is going to get disrupted by AI, whether we like it or not. The work has already started. So the overall opportunity is expanded. So when you look at it in that context, so within enterprise apps, autonomous workflows are going to take a big chunk, but it's also expanding the market. So SaaS companies that adopt and adapt will be able to thrive. From a context of India as a product nation, this alone expands the opportunity. In just staying on the swim lane of B2B applications and enterprise SaaS. The other trend here is unstructured data. Like we have been living in a world where over the last 2 decades, we have used all kinds of technology or software like CRM, HRMS, ERP, where we have form-based systems where we use human beings to structure the data so that at the end of the quarter, a data analyst can come look at the data and create those charts and pie charts and reports for the leaders to get insights. Now, we have already seen the art of the possible with OpenAI, which is how can AI actually get insights from unstructured data. Now, there's a whole lot of opportunity. Think about customer surveys, which can move from a structured data collection format to a completely unstructured. So that is going to throw up unstructured data and insights from unstructured data is going to throw up a huge opportunity. And then when you look at developer tools, which also come under SaaS as a business model, we have seen so many companies, whether it's Snowflake or Fivetran, like all these companies that were built on structured data, the stack for structured data. Now a similar stack for unstructured data is emerging. And then AI stack. So overall, my point being, the question is not about is SaaS dead and is AI the new thing? These are not two separate questions. Is AI going to disrupt SaaS and enterprise applications? Absolutely yes. Is AI going to disrupt a lot more? Absolutely yes. Where is the opportunity? The opportunity is in enterprise apps. There are new opportunities emerging. So when you put all of that in context of the dream of India as a product nation, then this is the second and a much bigger catalyst for us to march towards that. So it is SaaS and AI, which will lead us to accelerating even faster towards the dream of going towards India's product.
Absolutely agree. So SaaS and AI, so expanded market opportunity. I think but the biggest criticism, Girish, what I'm hearing from people is that India so far could produce software. So there was an advantage. India has almost about 6 million developers now, and we have learned the art and science of building the products, global products from India. Now with AI coming in, isn't it very easy to develop product for anybody, anywhere in the world? So what is the real advantage that India has as far as building product is concerned?
Okay, I want to take a little bit step back in continuing a little bit in the direction of Girish was talking about. See, if you take the computing tech stack, right, they were hardware. We were not closer to that hardware revolution. India was not closer to that. We missed that. And immediately after that, there is embedded software. We also missed that pretty much. And then there is infrastructure and platform software. Like Microsoft was built around that platform, right? My operating system, the entire operating system. We missed that. Then finally, we got onto the services stack, which is the Infosys, Cognizant, TCS, that revolution, the IT services stack. Then we are looking at software in two categories, right? Consumer software and then B2B software. Now, SaaS is really like one delivery mechanism and a business model mechanism of B2B software. So the question of whether SaaS is going to dead is like not even relevant because previously we used to deliver B2B software in client server technology, right?
And client server is dead now.
Client server is dead now. So, and SaaS is just another delivery model. So the B2B software opportunity, is it dead or not, is a better question to ask. I think the answer is really no. On the other hand, the B2B software opportunity is going to explode. Just like how client server was dead and SaaS exploded the B2B software opportunity, AI is going to further explode even multifold, right? And it's not like the existing SaaS companies will be killed. The newer AI companies will be a lot more. And in that, this current SaaS thing that we're talking about, it won't even really something we need to really worry about. We just embrace the B2B software explosion as an opportunity that is in front of us. That is really the one. Just one thing I'll say. I would actually introduce this term. Maybe you guys have read it somewhere, but in this context, see, software as a service. I think what is going to happen with AI is a service as a software. AI is going to just flip the whole notion that software is being provided as a service till now with SaaS. I think SaaS 2.0 globally really means service will be provided via software. So what people will end consuming will be services and software will be incidental to that. So software will be powering those services. What I want is like I want a booking service. And there could also be a notion where some of the boundaries of B2C and B2B could slowly also, collide and merge, right?
So if I can come in that thought of, I believe, massive expansion of time is happening. And I'm going to take the theme of services, software, and Girish, what you were talking about in a giving example of customer support on autonomous workflow, is perhaps then imagine a place where you're not just getting a software, you're getting a full-fledged service, which means, for example, an AI caller, right? So today, in a traditional company, we hire an SDR, then we buy some software like Zoom Info, some databases, then we're looking at some research software, and then somebody, a human is calling. Maybe a company will provide a full-fledged, either fully autonomous or human-assisted AI caller who can give you the leads, right?
Exactly.
So the end result is what you also talk about, outcome-based pricing might come.
Right.
So where I think there is a full-fledged expansion of TAM of bringing services and software together. So the new age company might look like, okay, this company is giving you spawning 1,000 virtual AI services agent who are doing the work for you, right?
Exactly.
And in the back end, as a technology company, you are using AI services and AI products and kind of giving a combined offering to the
Meaning the consumers will simply say, I don't care what you use. I'm going to invoke this service. It books me a ticket to fly, just like a consumer service. Like I use a website, it books a ticket underneath and gives me an airline ticket. Something like that even is going to happen for B2B.
Yeah.
I use a service, it will do something for me and I'll just pay for that something.
So what I want to do is I want to introduce our surprise guest now. I'm going to actually bring ChatGPT as a virtual guest and ask the same question to ChatGPT.
Okay.
What does it think?
Okay. Now we are competing with ChatGPT, is it?
Hi ChatGPT, welcome on the show. What I would like to, ChatGPT is our guest, virtual guest today on the show. So ChatGPT, we are discussing here, is SaaS dead or how SaaS and AI are going to work together? How do you see the opportunity for Indian companies in the global arena? And is consuming all that?
Thank you for having me. Let's dive right in. SaaS is definitely not dead, but the way it operates is evolving, especially with AI coming into play. Indian companies have a real opportunity here. SaaS still has a lot of relevance, but AI is reshaping how software is built, delivered, and scaled. Instead of standalone SaaS products, we are now seeing AI-powered SaaS solutions, where AI enhances automation, customer insights, and product recommendations. This shift means SaaS businesses need to integrate AI capabilities to remain competitive. For Indian companies, this presents a huge opportunity.
Perfect. Thank you, ChatGPT.
Freshworks and Zoho. Now, leveraging AI can help Indian startups break into new verticals faster, create differentiated products, and compete globally by reducing costs through automation.
So I'm going to pause ChatGPT for a moment. And Girish, I want to come to this important point that our virtual guest has brought up, the verticalization of SaaS, right? If you notice, ChatGPT talked about that there'll be a vertical movement, actually give an example of Freshworks and Zoho and the customer service and support. So how do you see the entire verticalization theme in SaaS coming up?
Conventionally or historically, all the large software players have always been horizontal, right? Because, not surprisingly,
TAM.
big TAM,
Yeah.
right? What's changing in the AI world? The need for underlying data. And also today, where we have reached with Gen AI is what I call as, or what is the industry calls as agent on guardrails. So you still don't have an AI agent that can do anything and everything, but if there are guardrails around, okay, this is your task, this is what you could do, the AI agent can do that job very well. So if you marry these two together, the need for data and the ability of current available AI, Gen AI agent technology to be within the guardrail, then it truly translates into success for businesses will happen in verticals. So, like for example, let's take customer service, for example, which is the domain I know best. So it's probably much easier to build a solution, a customer service AI agent for an e-commerce company, which can only do returns, refunds, tracking order status, etc. Or if I'm building it only for a credit card company, where I can say, okay, pay my bill, or give me my last statement, or dispute an invoice. So it's close to, or we are not there yet today, where some company can claim to build an AI agent that can be working across credit card companies and e-commerce companies and hospitality companies and banks. So that's where we are in terms of the where the technology is. So because of that, I think we will see more success in startups and businesses will start seeing more results with AI if they take a vertical first approach. And maybe the future large company of tomorrow will have a platform approach where they're able to go from one vertical to another, but the technology, underlying technology actually is able to solve for one vertical at a time. That's my thesis.
Absolutely, fully agree. I think I also want to summarize the opportunity in verticalization, which I wrote a blog last week. I'll just come to it. I'm just summarizing what Girish just said.
Sure.
So I think in verticalization, if you look at it, and for all the audience who's listening to this podcast, I think the major opportunities are coming in US healthcare. We've seen in our portfolio companies in together, right? We have Rapid Claims focus on revenue cycle management. We have Confido, which is doing automation in the nursing front-end operations, right? We have Spry Health, which is focused on a boring market of physiotherapy clinics in the US. Who would have thought you can create a large company in that area? Then the second big area is, and I'm going to come to Suresh in a bit, is on the whole software automation, entire SDLC, which is software development lifecycle automation, where we are seeing no-code software going to the next wave as well. Big opportunity coming up there. We have big opportunity coming in legal tech area as well, all the lawyers. So AI is overall is a productivity theme. So what vertical does is helps you go into one particular area, craft a product really, really well. This is an example Girish was giving, and then kind of build that and expand into various opportunities. Yes, Suresh, you were making a point on
I was saying, who's a software developer? Just think about that question. That definition itself could change.
Devin.
That's what I'm saying. The definition of a software developer is going to change. The reason I'm saying this is AI is going to bring in what is called as dynamically composable software. See, the biggest problem I see with software is it's still monoliths. Like, for example, if I use a CRM, imagine I just have to use Salesforce. At any point in time, I'm not using the entire Salesforce. I have a Salesforce license or any software license. I'm not using entire Salesforce at all, any point in time. Today, I'm going to create a lead. So I want to create lead. Tomorrow, I want to access a report. Day after tomorrow, I want to convert a lead to an opportunity. 5 days later, I want to convert an opportunity into a win. At any point in time, I'm not entirely consuming Salesforce, all these things in one block. I'm only consuming one piece at a time. That's the first point, which means what's going to happen is it's going to be easy for users to compose software dynamically at runtime the way they need it, rather than a software developer hardwiring it and telling them this is how you need to use it. The biggest problem today I have is software developers are telling how the end users need to use the software. And that's a big barrier. End users say, I know how to use the software, but you don't have the technology to tell me, give me the way I want to use software. So you are forcing me to use the way you are built the software to me. That's the first.
So you're saying Salesforce is dead?
Not just Salesforce. Every software's architecture is going to fundamentally change.
I thought Girish will jump on it. You remember he ran the campaign of Salesforce.
Salesforce, right? Yeah. The first 2 points are very, very connected. The first 2 points I'm talking about is very connected. The first one is composability of software. The second point is who has the vertical knowledge. If I have composability of software and then I have the vertical knowledge, then there is going to be explosion of people who create software. There is previously an elite set of people who know how to make software.
So basically you're saying software engineering is dead?
The software engineering is going to be democratized, not dead.
I want somebody to die.
To be die, yeah. No, I want to say, like, for example...
No, I'm trying to bring the attention to the right area.
Just to take a step back. When calculator was invented, I'm just giving you this. A lot of people thought accountants are going to be dead. And Excel was invented, people said finance people are going to be dead. Right? Because they were the one who were doing balance sheets and, P&L account and all of these things. It never happened. And when computer came, my father was a CIT union leader. He thought everybody is going to lose the job in India. And on this side, I was actually programming and computer. And on the other side, he'll be on the roads fighting for don't automate. Right?
So what you're saying is you just need to know English to create software.
I'm saying every one of these innovations is going to create explosion of opportunities rather than thinking about in a very, what they call the growth mindset versus the, what is the opposite of growth mindset, Girish?
Fixed mindset.
Fixed mindset, right? See, the fixed mindset thinks like SaaS is dead. The growth mindset is going to say B2B software is going to be exploding. I'm betting on the explosion that is possible on the B2B software with AI. That's really the biggest opportunity I'm thinking.
See, this whole concept of composable apps, right? Actually, that is a very, very valid thought process because the tech wasn't available. And we all go through that bloat, right? So, for example, if I have 10 integrations for customer support, I will stack all those integrations in a menu or whatever, and then people should go and switch the tabs, etc. But in a new world, we can actually bring a dynamic app when it is needed and relevant. So the composable app is... so the question that brings to my mind, and I've been having this conversation with a few founders, is so we all know that the system of record is not going to die. But how will the system of record of the future look like? So we talked about there's no need for forms. Like we live in a world where everybody's filling forms. So if humans don't need to fill up the forms, so how is the system of record, whether it's Freshworks or Salesforce, how is it going to look like? If there's no need for a structured layout of the UI, if we can give canvases that can dynamically populate and people can invoke, I'm saying you don't need citizen developers to build the layout. I'm saying I can ask AI to bring me this data and the data can, so all I need is 2 screens, right? Maybe one screen where I want to show something and one screen you can ask and I'll bring you the data, right? So how will this new world, this is a question in my mind, like how will next generation AI first system of record look like? What is the...
So I'm going to pause.
How are you going to get the
I'm going
dynamic?
to ask ChatGPT this question first. It's an interesting question you brought. So let's see what ChatGPT is going to talk about. So ChatGPT, we're talking about the future of software. And Girish here has brought up his vision of things that how will the future system of record look like? Would love to get your views on that.
The future system of record will likely look very different from what we have today, as companies like Freshworks are envisioning it to be more dynamic and interconnected.
Because
Traditionally, systems of record, like CRMs or ERPs, are static databases. But with AI advancements, they're evolving into intelligent platforms. In the future, systems of record will be much more context-aware and real-time. Instead of just storing data, these platforms will continuously learn from interactions, customer behaviors, and operational data streams. AI will play a crucial role by automating updates, generating insights, and predicting future trends, ensuring that companies are always acting on the latest information. This shift means systems of record won't be isolated silos, but rather integrated hubs, connecting customer experiences, operational workflows, and AI-driven decision-making. The end goal is to enable businesses to adapt instantly, whether that means responding to customer needs or adjusting to market changes in real time. For Indian SaaS companies, there's a huge opportunity to lead this transition by creating modular API-first systems that allow businesses to build their custom workflows powered by AI at the core. This aligns with the trend toward composable SaaS architectures, where companies can piece together the tools they need rather than relying on monolithic platforms. The challenge will be creating seamless, global solutions that scale well while staying flexible. Girish's vision captures the essence of this transformation, moving from static data repositories to living, intelligent systems that actively drive business outcomes. Indian companies are well positioned to push this narrative forward, given the SaaS expertise and burgeoning AI talent in the country.
Thanks, ChatGPT. So it seems like it has read your mind, both of you, talking about composable apps and the vision of our future software.
Are you having ChatGPT on listen mode?
No, but Manav, here also I'll throw one more controversial topic, which is also...
Which is something you always do, every day.
Every day.
on Twitter. No, I was just saying, see, most SaaS applications are no bigger than a glorified CRUD operation. Most SaaS applications are like CRUD operation. CRUD is create, read, update, delete. It's a UI slapped on a backend database with just CRUD operation. Of course, it has security, access control, roles. You need to do analysis, reports, and all that. But it's still summary. Meaning, report is nothing but a summarization of read.
Yeah. So you have database in the backend just to summarize for audience, and there is a front end which is giving you
That's
the data.
what it does, right? Now, this notion will get questioned, which essentially means if you look at, I was always thinking about Salesforce, since we talked about Salesforce in the beginning. Meaning, Salesforce is 200 billion TAM, whatever that TAM you talked about, right?
Market cap right now, TAM is much larger.
Much large. Salesforce market cap is 200 billion. Now, what do we do in Salesforce? other than the integrations that happen, which make Salesforce much more powerful, otherwise the core of Salesforce is a one big CRUD application. I just create a lead, I create a contact, I create a company, I create an opportunity and move this opportunity here. Every time that I move the opportunity, I update a status flag. That's really what
So is it fair to say that now Indian companies or the next generation company can actually create next Salesforce, next $200 billion market cap from India?
I'm saying it's even more bigger than that.
Yeah. So that's what the opportunity you're looking at, right?
That's huge. That opportunity is huge. And I think we are going to, I think we are in a moment where there's going to be 7 billion, there are 7 billion photographers in the world today. Why?
Because of smartphone.
Smartphone.
Yes.
That's what AI is going to do. AI is going to make 7 billion software developers. What smartphone did to photography is what's going to happen with software development and AI.
Yeah, that's what Girish says. Nokia to Apple movement for SaaS
that's
right now.
really what's going to happen. So everybody can develop software because the notion of software developer, who's a software developer, is going to be questioned or it's going to be changed forever.
I think the key question then is, where is the differentiation going to come from? If everybody is going to develop software, let's say in a utopian world, where software is like English language, then where is the differentiation going to come from?
I want to pick an example. There is this guy called Amit Agarwal. He's in Delhi.
Agra,
Delhi. Well, I know that to me is safe.
We have Taj Mahal in Agra.
I know. So I met him, happened to run into him in the early 2010, late 2000s. Okay, that's the time Gmail got launched, and professionally Gmail enters into the corporate B2B offering, and he starts writing a lot of blogs about how to use Gmail, how to use this, all these things. And he, over time, gets like 3 million, 4 million followers on his blog, Labnol. He's a very famous blogger at the time. And one fine morning, he thought Google released a marketplace for Google Apps. And he said, okay, somebody put or you have small applications, you put it there. So he wrote all the scripts that he wrote for Google Apps. He just thought he'll put it there and charge $2 or $3. Within no time, as a single person right now, he makes $20 million. It's a 1% company, OPC.
Wow. Great example. So that's the opportunity. So, sitting in Agra, I'm just going to summarize for the audience. Sitting in Agra, you can generate 20 million, which is 170 crores today, right? 170 crores per annum.
He probably has few more employees now. But the story I'm trying to say is when he had the domain knowledge and he also has software knowledge, which he was able to combine, and he was able to build a company like that. Now, that's the opportunity. Now, software programming knowledge is going to be commoditized or democratized, which means everybody can do it. So people who have the domain knowledge of solving a particular problem uniquely have a superior advantage than the people who have the programming knowledge. See, there was always a fight between people who have domain knowledge and the people who have the programming knowledge. The programmers win till now.
Yeah, it's democratized now. So now your domain knowledge.
Now the people who have the domain knowledge have an upper advantage because the democratization of programming is happening.
I think we are all violently agreeing that in this segment, that opportunity has expanded. ChatGPT was also agreeing with us and giving us even more clues that, composable apps are coming together. And it's not just about building the production, scaling operations, customer service, using AI as powerhouse. But the big question then, Avinash, and I'm going to come to you, as an architect of the ecosystem, which has probably, pure SaaS companies, 3,000, 4,000 pure SaaS companies, and maybe we have, let's say, 1,000, 2,000 AI plus SaaS companies. So what is your guidance, advice, suggestion to the companies who have not yet pivoted into AI? We have a lot of companies who are just generating anywhere between 1 million to even 50 million, $60 million in revenue.
Sure.
So what should they do?
I don't know what they should do.
Ask ChatGPT.
We will.
No, adapt or die.
Adapt or die.
Yeah.
Adapt to AI or just...
Yeah.
So basically, I in the last SaaStr annual, I spoke about this. Satya Nadella said this at Microsoft. You have to throw away your current roadmaps if you've not done already. And this was last year after ChatGPT demo happened. Throw away your roadmaps and rethink how will your software be relevant in an AI first world. That is what every founder building a tech startup today in any space has to be thinking about?
Hey, very important point. Since you mentioned Microsoft, there is this big partnership breakdown that's happening between Microsoft and OpenAI. I don't know whether you guys read the news. So the reason that's happening is because OpenAI believes they can be bigger than Microsoft.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So that's the size of what the AI opportunity is. So OpenAI is thinking, no, I'm not like no longer like I'm a small company where Microsoft is the big boss. OpenAI thinks they can be much, much bigger than Microsoft, and they don't want to really be constrained by Microsoft. So that is happening. So that's the kind of massive shift in the technology, ecosystem and landscape that we are seeing.
So that means our $1 trillion dream for Indian companies is going to come true soon. 2030 or before or after?
I don't know, but
So can I throw an interesting idea on that topic? This was something that came to my mind when I was actually attending the Global CEO conference at Microsoft. I wanted to ask Satya this question, but there wasn't time for my question. See, think about, okay, we all have a smartphone, right? But where is the smart laptop? So we don't have a smart laptop, right? Now, imagine a new gadget from OpenAI, for example, or anybody, could be Meta, could be anybody who's got this powerful model, where you have this device with a screen.
maybe together.
We'll build it together for sure.
So let me complete. So where you don't need the traditional interfaces of a browser, a search, or opening up an email client to compose an email, or spin up a word processor or MS Office to compose a doc. Instead, you could actually have a local LLM in that smart device. You just talk to it and say, hey, send an email to Manav with this context, book a calendar meeting, and create a document for me. And so I'm fascinated that the smart PC could actually be a much more powerful opportunity in a new world. And we know that local LLMs are
But
possible.
Girish, isn't that smartphone?
I
actually?
have a
Why do you need a
small
smart-
anecdote. Since we talk about smart PC. So there was a famous interview with Mike Morris did with Steve Jobs, where he was interviewing for the Times Man of the Year. And so Mike Morris finished the interview.
Person of the Year.
Person of the Year, yeah. Person of the Year. And he finally put PC as a Person of the Year. So that's what you're talking about, the PC. Now we're talking about AI as the Person of the Year, right? Which is then powering all these devices. And who
Person of the
knows?
century, Manav.
Maybe, who knows, yeah.
Not
Or PC of the
for the next
century.
10 years.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I think a big message for people, I think entrepreneurs out there is adapt or die.
Die.
I think that's a big, you were saying something, Girish?
No, I was responding to Suresh's comment that that's a smartphone. The point is,
We need even a laptop.
we are all using laptops.
Yeah.
Or
But do we
PC
need
today.
to use a laptop?
So there is a need for a larger screen format. But what does this
That
mean?
can be projected.
So what does this? No, the question is, what does this mean in terms of threat to the existing business empire? Because we started off this conversation where OpenAI believes they can be bigger than Microsoft.
Microsoft, yeah.
So the MS Office, the Windows business could be potentially
Big threat. I think key question is that can we build the next Microsoft equivalent from India? A large multiple company, right? And that also is the context of a $1 trillion dream that we all have. That are we going to create a generational company? Because one generational company, Microsoft itself is today $3 trillion and growing. OpenAI is touched $150 billion in market cap just now, right? And Salesforce is 200 billion plus and growing. And Mark Benioff has pivoted the company over a period of time. So are we looking at a next decade where we can create possibly the next 100 billion market cap company or more?
I actually think, I want to stick to the original theme that I started out saying, which is, see, when democratization happens, I think there is going to be a lot more newer people are going to come into the system. So the $1 trillion, when we first put out the $1 trillion vision for SaaSBoomi, like 2016, 17 time frame, right?
2017, 18
time frame, right?
Yeah.
So it is like 5-6 years now. We never knew how that formula is going to happen. And nobody can predict that, but at least that is a good goal to have. But I think that there are multiple ways it will happen. one of the ways it can happen is there could be many $10 million companies, many $20 million companies. And I think there was also talking about this 1% company era, right? I think AI is going to also power that. A lot of people are going to build like $3 million, $4 million, $5 million company with 5-6 people. Today, if you actually really have to build a good software, in fact, the traditional B2B software itself, SaaS simplified a lot. Like when me and Girish used to conduct these workshops, we used to say, hey, if you want to start a SaaS company, you need hardly less than 10 people to start off and then go from there. And then, of course, you have to scale, you build a big company out of it. But AI is going to further simplify that. Like now, we don't need like 20 designers. 4 or 5 designers coupled with the AI copilot can achieve what the 20 designers can do. So I think there's going to be an explosion of companies which are solving specific problems. What problems were never solved because the cost of solving those problems is no longer be expensive. So which means a lot of people are going to solve those problems before.
I fully agree. It's like a creator economy. If software becomes democratized or English,
exactly.
So it's going to mirror the creator economy at a long tail of a lot of engineers or domain experts or people are going to create.
Exactly.
But I think the larger, if you look at global themes over a period of time, large companies start dominating the market caps. It's happening if you look at the shift from oil to data or shift from oil to software, right? Today, market cap in NYSE or NASDAQ is dominated by your FANGs, right? Which is,
Correct.
Facebook, Amazon, Meta, right? So Google. So the question is, as India as a nation, if you look at it, right? My personal belief is that you have to create a generational company along with many creator economy type of companies, right? And Girish, for example, in this room or in the studio has experience of creating one decacon, right? So do you think, Girish, if you have to build the next one, how do you get to $100 billion market cap or even $1 trillion market cap company? Do you see that future
So
in the next decade?
okay, if I'm building something, and I've said this in my IPO founder letter, I don't start with $100 billion or $1 trillion market cap. I am a believer in dreaming in installments. I will start by solving a customer problem. I'll focus on making sure the customer is happy paying for that. I'll get to $1 million, I'll get to a $10 million, and then go from there. That's me personally. So
of course, I understand that. I think so. What you're saying is start in large TAM at least, right?
Yeah. See, I think the success for the formula or recipe for success is.
Or let me rephrase the question. If we as a nation have to contribute in creating the next Google, Microsoft, which means $1 trillion market cap company, do we have the ingredients to do that today?
See, the core ingredients are there, which is the aspirational talent pool, the availability of money for the right company, the friendly policies and government, access to capital anywhere in the world, not just India. So having the ingredients is one thing. I think to create, a lot of things have to go right in order to get the final finished product from the ingredient, right? And building a product like that is only 30% of the challenge. Like you heard ChatGPT say, I always say that like building a product is 30%, building a company is much harder. So we're talking about founders being able to scale, being able to attract talent, availability of talent. Availability of talent is something we never touched upon, right? And in this race for more and more companies, there's going to be, but India is actually at a demographic advantage there. So I think the ingredients are there, but it's still early days. And there's going to be a lot of work that needs to be done and a lot of things have to go right.
I'll give you my take on this, Girish. I think I fully agree with you. There are ingredients. We have talent. We have capital. We also have enough SaaSBoomi done the work, have early templates in place, right? What I see, I think, is the aspiration also. So I think it's the hunger which also drives this ambition and able to use these ingredients. And then somebody breaks out, right? You don't know out of 100 founders or 1,000 founders who eventually will break out. I think is also the scale of ambition. And I think as a nation, if you look back, I come from a middle class family. You know, my father used to work for Nestle, then was in insurance. He used to earn modest 50,000 rupees a month. He built his first house when he was a 60-year-old, right? And most of parents did that, right? We, on the other hand, as founders and who have been beneficiary of the technology wave, have built multiple houses at much younger ages. Our children are now can take bigger risks. I think is also as a nation we are growing, where at least the next generation I'm seeing can take larger risk, whether you come from a privileged background or not from a privileged background. Because today entrepreneurship is celebrated. I think that's the biggest shift that we've done as a nation where entrepreneurship is celebrated. I remember, and Girish, you also know, when somebody joined Eka in 2010, the guy left and saying, I'm going to Hyderabad joining IBM because I won't get married. Because my in-laws are going to, or future in-laws are asking, what are you going to earn? What is the stability of the job?
I shut down my training business in 2001 for the
To get
same
married.
reason.
That is your point there for sure.
Manav, I feel there is one more.
So I think
Sorry.
so I think this is hunger and the ambition, which along with the ingredients is eventually will get there. Of course, it's a long road to get there. A lot of things have to go right. I think, but as an ecosystem, I think where we're reaching, I am very hopeful that eventually in the next 10 years, India will be able to produce something of that scale. In addition to, of course, a lot of long tail of creator economies, which is going to build a lot of jobs, which is really, really good for us.
Yeah. But I actually feel there is one more bigger opportunity which is not so obvious, but slightly adjacent to the technology industry, but not really in the technology industry. Let me give you an example. When my mother used to grind idli batter, like the way she used to grind is put that rice and grind it for 2 hours. It takes like solid 2 hours. But once grinder was invented, the way she used to grind is very funny, right? She'll put it in the grinder and then she'll walk to the hall. To do what?
Your water.
She'll watch TV. She'll put it in the grinder. She'll watch, in that break, she comes and then watches TV. And then after 20 minutes, she goes back to the grinder, puts some more water, she comes back to the TV. And then this whole thing, like this automation has happened that frees up a lot of time for human beings. When people get a lot of time, they spend in entertaining
Entertainment,
themselves. So, and that opens a huge opportunity. When AI is going to automate a lot of these human, manual, mundane tasks, that's going to free up a lot of human time. Then you need to be entertained. So,
Time to buy Netflix and Amazon.
so the point.
Or is thinking about AI music app driven by AI.
So there are
That's where it's going.
So I'm basically saying there is a lot of opportunities for software developers to develop and cater to the entertainment economy. Think about like entertainment as a separate huge economy that can like just expand like anything. And that opportunity is massive. And massive means like unimaginably massive. And that's going to happen. And if you can power that in some way, directly or indirectly.
Brilliant point. So TikTok is an AI company, ByteDance. It has beaten Facebook in its algorithm, right? And it's become the most popular app even within a certain age group in the US as well, right?
Sure. So that is a massive opportunity. And the reason you talked about India advantage actually will become a big advantage in the AI economy in many ways, I believe. It's the counter theory of automation which I'm proposing.
So I think if Indian entrepreneurs take advantage of it. It may also happen is that all
even
global
consumption,
MNCs.
for example, if I need entertainment, who will consume that? People. And we have the people. It's like...
Suresh, I'll just pause you there because so far what has happened is most of the internet is consumed by Google or Facebook or Amazon, right? Or Apple.
Yeah.
There's no single Indian company in consumer internet horizon we are using. So I'm trying to bring in also our nation's dream into picture, right? Like many ways China did that. Right? They have their own Alibaba, they have the ByteDance, they have the Baidu for search. So I think while we don't follow China model, but India has enough powerhouse of talent, money and understanding of local and the global market where one more company or two more companies like that can be conceived or somebody can conceive and get there. Even if it is not conceived from design, eventually it can get there. So I think it's going to be balanced and we'll see how things roll out. What I want to do is in the last segment of this conversation, I want spend maybe half an hour, 45 minutes and talking about laying out the templates for the future entrepreneurs on what are the few, let's say 5 actionable items it takes to build a AI company now, right? We have all seen B2B company built using, I would say, first client server, where I started actually Eka at that time, and then shifted to cloud, which became then SaaS. Now it's become SaaS plus AI. We all spoke about multi-billion-dollar TAM. Actually, when we did the McKinsey, Avinash, you remember that the total software TAM for SaaS is $500 billion. With AI, and that is 1 year back, data suggested in 2023 it will become $650 billion plus, just the software TAM. And if we add other hardware context or device also, which will become form, we don't know which is going to go, the TAM is much, much higher, right? Yeah. So given that we have TAM, we have talent, we have capital. So let's try and lay down what are the 5 things or 5 steps for a founder to go through. So I'm going to start with the first step, right? Typically when we conceive, and Girish, if you remember, obviously you came from Zoho, so you already had understanding of how to build software and scale software company. And then Freshworks, massive success, right? So a traditional way of doing, or not traditional, we look at the problem, let's say customer support, and take the favorite example because easier to understand for all of us. We look at solving the customer problem and we say, okay, let's go and find the design problem. So how now when you're conceiving a customer support or future customer support software company, what is the first step you will do?
To build an AI first company today, right, as a startup, the context is I'm building a startup, I'm building an AI, a lot of capital, at least reasonable amount of capital is needed for the computes and so on. I've always talked about riding the wave or riding the momentum, right? See, today, AI agents is where the momentum is going, which in other terms, I say autonomous workflows. So the reason why a lot of money is going there is, as I told you, the salary TAM is 10x the software TAM. And hence, a lot of VC investing activity is also going into that. Fundamentally, larger market means easier chance of scaling a company from 0 to 1 to 10 to 50 and so on, and faster also. And the art of the possible has been demonstrated. Available Gen AI technology has shown that if you pick reasonably narrow use cases, technology is available today to start automating that. And it's an easier sale to demonstrate the business value to the customer.
So I'm going to pause for audience. So first step, what Girish is talking about, TAM, which is total addressable market, has expanded from traditionally a software will go and sell for X price. Now you also have salary, which means AI can replace human beings, either full autonomous, which is 100% automation, or 50 or 60% automation along with human, right? So therefore, a total addressable market, look at it in a very different way, like you did in a traditional building, a traditional SaaS company. That's the learning number one, correct? I've summarized correctly?
Yeah, so in that sense, it's easily demonstrable value to the customer. Again, with all the context, using the analogy that Suresh gave, that when computers came, people said bank tellers would go out of job, or when ATM came, bank tellers would go out of job. When computers came, accountants would go out of job. None of those happened. People upskilled and they learned how to use these tools. So repetitive, mundane work that is being done by humans that can be automated will be automated by AI. Whether we like it or not, this is what is going to happen. So the companies that can provide the technology are getting customer revenue because of the demonstrable value, and hence are getting funded and are able to scale fast.
So if we could break it into steps. So first step is look at the TAM in a very different way, you go to salary. Second is, how do you look at the value, right? So let's break down into value into actionable item for the founder who's starting for the first time, right? So the value breakup is happening whether you have the availability of technology, which means you have to get some kind of AI talent in the company. Am I right in saying that? Some kind of understanding of how technology of AI
I think every startup today needs an AI co-founder.
Okay, so every startup needs a co-founder, right? So once you identify the TAM correctly, your co-founding team has to be constructed in a way there's some expert or knowledge person who understands how AI works. So what Girish is calling is AI co-founder, right? So because you have team constructed a little bit differently, rather than just 2 engineers or 1 sales and one engineer, you also have to have an AI co-founder in place, okay? So once you have done that, third step then goes into how do you use technology to demonstrate the real value to the customer? So how do you really do that?
So in the case of autonomous workflows...
So let's take an example for...
Yeah, in the case of autonomous workflow or AI agent, like the value for the customer is the savings in the automation. So let's say if they have 3 people doing a particular job, like can one person do the job and AI help that person be more productive? So the other 2 people can do something else, right? Take the example of an AI nurse. We invested in a company called Confido Health. So nurses are, US has a severe under staffing of nurses, and they are extremely busy handling patients who are coming into the clinic. They also have to call patients who have a procedure scheduled next Friday or whatever, and then give them instructions on their food plan, on how to come to the hospital, etc. So that's an example of a workflow that can be automated. And this company has built that, trained on millions of minutes of these actual conversations. And they're able to demonstrate the value and sell to the hospitals, where the hospital can see, okay, I have a small team of nurses who's already struggling with a lot of workload and overload, and they're not able to, they're working over hours and so on. And it saves me money to automate this thing. It makes our nurses more productive. So that is an example of easily demonstrable business value, where the customer or the business also sees that, hey, it's a win. I'm able to make my people more productive and I'm able to save money in the process.
So just to summarize the third step. So number one was looking at total addressable market in a different way, include salary. Second was constructed or manufacturing the co-founding team with an AI co-founder. And number 3 is coming to value. Now, value is, that means you go and sign a design partner, let's call it design partner, with whom you can experiment or build a service, software as a service, or service as a software.
Basically get access to the data.
Yeah, access to the underlying data, and show them if, for example, the company was 100 people, you can do the same job with lesser number of people so that business can save money and can use the same money to grow the revenue, right? So the value has been
This is
demonstrated.
all in the context of AI agents only.
Yeah, I'm taking one example of AI agents. So how do you then call the PMF? PMF is a big word in our world, right? So then what will be the PMF in this case?
See, first thing is the AI agent able to do the job that would have been normally done by the human accurately, at least to a 95% level. So there could always be some edge cases where a human can intervene. But and take Suresh's example. Okay, I want to plan a travel itinerary, right? So can an AI agent actually, because if you really have the data to plan an itinerary in France, right from booking the ticket to picking a hotel to doing activities, it is fairly automatable, right? There may be edge cases with a few customers who have very special requirements, but this is an example where even companies like Google are probably working on it because it's such a huge market itinerary planning. So they will actually build something like that, right? So if it's, so product market fit, you will know when the task that needs to be done is accomplished.
Yeah. So I just want to take the key point, accuracy. So I want to bring accuracy because you're replacing a human task which is doing to 99% accuracy and sometimes 100% accuracy. In a lot of mission critical workflows, in this case travel itinerary, you cannot build a software which has only 90% accuracy if you're building a fully autonomous agent, because then 10% going to cost you either wrong cancellations, wrong bookings, and you're going to have frustrated customer experience, right? So therefore, solve for accuracy when you're building the product. So when accuracy and the value comes together, you start moving towards PMF because there's a repeatability of the customer. So PMF in our word means when a certain segment of customer is able to buy your product or service on a repeatable basis, is getting value and paying you some value of that, correct? So that's how you work towards your PMF, right? Now, after having PMF, now we heard all of us agreeing that software building is going to be easy, maybe 30% or maybe reduce to 10% if I go with what Suresh and I and ChatGPT was also talking about, right? And then crafting the product for the edge cases, looking at the entire go-to-market motion becomes really different. How will that change? Will it change?
Picking the right go-to-market model, that doesn't change because of AI or SaaS, right? And also it has to be closely aligned with the underlying business model. Like who are you selling to? Are you selling to consumers? Are you selling to large enterprises? Are you selling top-down? Are you going for adoption from users within small and large companies? Or are you targeting small business owners like Shopify sellers or mom and pop stores? So having a good understanding of what is the sweet spot of your customer segment and what is the best way to reach them at scale. So that is how you pick the go-to-market model, and it comes after you actually solve a problem well for one segment. So you need to, so I think...
I think the only thing I'll add to that, Girish, I think is data, which you said in the opening of this entire conversation. Data is a very important piece of go-to-market as well, right? If you don't have access to data, then go-to-market motion also becomes slower. And that's what, for example, OpenAI is doing and signing partnerships with either New York Times or trying to sign partnerships with various data providers so that your go-to-market motion then adds to that particular data also, because somebody has to train data on that particular piece of AI. Second, I think we lead into that is the verticalization of the entire thing, right? If you become very good in a particular vertical, then you're able to give more insights for that vertical put together, right? So therefore, your go-to-market motion, in addition to what the points that you said about customer insights, understanding the business model, understanding who is the ICP, which is ideal customer profile, I think access to right data and focus on a particular vertical. Similar example that you give in a customer service for e-commerce companies, right? So you focus on that, get the data, craft the customer experience, and that I think will also start becoming a little bit more important than it did in a traditional SaaS world, because then you're bringing in data and the industry insights into the one go-to-market motion, right? And the last part, and I'm going to come to Suresh after you, that so after you have built a go-to-market motion, what do you think about the organization building?
See, I think for every company, once you reach early revenue, which could be anywhere between say $1 million, $2 million, founders need to really build structural stability in the company. And the analogy that I would like to use, which came to me when I was in Dubai airport, is the difference between an elevator and an escalator. So when you see an escalator, right? An escalator is always built only up to a certain height, and then you have to walk around and then take the next escalator. What is the reason for that? If you try to build an escalator all the way up, it's impossible to have structural stability. It will collapse, right? I think an early stage startup is like an escalator where you're moving slowly and you're getting to that product market fit, you're getting to early revenue. But once you hit that early revenue, then it's like really an escalator where you can elevator where you can scale to 50 floors. And the reason for that is structural stability needs to be built in. So what I mean by that is, as the org starts growing, things start hitting the CEO. The CEO is the person making all the founders making all the decisions. There'll be a lot of burnout very quickly. So it's the time to put in place a leadership team. And the way I did it in 2015 in Freshworks is I used to ask this question, like for example, the context is for everything people used to come to me. Like one customer is asking for a discount in sales. Oh, let's go and get approval from Girish. Or we want to make an offer to a candidate. Let's go and get Girish to interview and sign the offer letter. And if salary negotiation with an employee, oh, let's go to the CEO and do it. Customer service escalation. So then I had to ask and I would encourage founders who have accomplished reasonable revenue to ask one simple question. Like, are you the only smart person capable of doing this job in the company? Or will any other smart person in the company be able to do this job? So then you hire the right person for that, and then you free yourself up for firefighting, because there's going to be a lot of fires in this journey every day of scaling a startup. So keep yourself free for strategic things and keep yourself free for jumping into firefighting mode multiple times. But for everything else, whether it's sales, marketing, customer service, hire smart leaders who would have taken the same decision that you would do. So that was an important, and that's an important part of org scaling.
So this is a masterclass on how do you think about scaling the organization. Once you're beginning to understand that I am getting or close to getting early revenue or PMF. I have only one last question on this one, Girish, on that. So do you think the engagement with talent will change? In our case, we use sometimes recruiters. We used to travel abroad to hire people. Now with advent of all these platforms like TikTok, where most of the younger generation is, now we're talking about new generation coming in, right? So how will the engagement with talent will change? Or will it change?
This generation of talent.
Gen Z.
Gen Z. Okay, so what are we? Let's not go there.
Now you have to reveal the ages.
So see, I think what has changed, like in our parents' generation, what employees used to value most was job security. That's why they wanted government jobs or bank jobs. So because they wanted safety or job security, right? I think in our generation, we were more focused on job satisfaction. Like we wanted to be happy doing what we wanted to do, right? And so having the ability, the operational freedom to do things, to have the satisfaction that I accomplished something. I think in Gen Z, we are seeing a lot of aspiration. So they want a faster promotion. They want to short-circuit the learning curve.
Instant gratification.
Instant gratification. Because I think Simon Sinek said it best, right? Like you push a button, you get a car. Yeah. You push a button, you get food. So they want to push a button and get promotion. Yeah. So I think, but take out that side. But what is in general is they value learning. So the route to, they don't want to wait 20 years for a promotion, right? Yeah. So, and companies are adapting. Like Google now does promotions every 3 months or 6 months, right? Our appraisals are done more frequently. So the core philosophy that the founder needs to understand is focus on creating learning opportunities and accelerated growth path for people who are aspirational and want to move fast. Because the rules of the belief system of the past decade or the past generation will not work with the Gen Z.
If we have to give away a takeaway for somebody, and I know you're in the process of scaling Kissflow and looking at how do you bring Kissflow into the new world of AI, running a traditional SaaS company you started with. So how will you view the 5 or 6 steps of building the company today, or even pivoting your company today from SaaS company?
Sure. Okay, can I add few more points to what Girish was saying? See, Girish talked about software TAM versus salary TAM.
Not versus, this addition to that.
Addition to that, right? So like why people are investing money. That's a great point. There is this great article Sequoia Capital published. It's called Act 01. I don't know whether you guys had a chance to read that article. The reason it's called Act 01 because 01 is the algorithm for OpenAI. It's the first time OpenAI is not generating, but it is thinking. It's called the thinking fast and the thinking slow model. So it's first time OpenAI is starting to think, stop and think before it can give you the answer. So I think that's why that article is titled as Act 01. In that article, the whole AI opportunity is not at 650 billion, it is as 10 trillion. 10 trillion. I'm just saying it one more time, just to make sure that it registers in people's mind. So the TAM that we are talking about is not in billions, it's in like trillions, many trillions. In fact, they put one circle and they said, hey, that we are just only looking at 2030 or something.
And we only need 1 trillion.
Yeah, so correct. So basically they're saying, hey, that do only market cap, not even revenue, right? So you're talking about, hey, 2030 is 10 trillion. Beyond 2030, we really don't even know what that TAM is. That's a big question mark.
That's how India will have 30 trillion in 2047. I'm sure we'll have a large...
So I think the first reset we need to have in our mind is that the opportunity is explosive. Himalayan is like a small word. It's massively Himalayan. So that's the first thing that I wanted to add. The second thing is you talked about go-to-market. I think the go-to-market models are itself going to be unknown right now. Actually, I say it like it's not, it can change so much. I'll tell you an example so that we can understand it. See, before Google came with AdWords and SEO and paid ads, we never had that go-to-market model. Just think about it. Zoho was built primarily because they had the cheap AdWords before anybody figured out that using digital ads, you can, because when Zoho started AdWords, it was in paisa. Today, it's in tens of dollars. From paisa to tens of dollars is too much for a click I'm talking about, not even about conversion.
Yeah.
But before that, the way we sold software is very different. This go-to-market model was never available for us before. The way we sell products before Amazon, physical products I mean, was never available before. The way we consume consumption like Netflix or YouTube.
Or TikTok,
never available before. So these are go-to-market models which were never available before. I think we are at one more time at a very inflection point trying to predict a go-to-market model based on the current understanding of what we know itself maybe little...
So new channels will emerge. So instead of model, we're talking about new...
Because especially if you're talking about service as a software and composability of software, if you combine service as a software and composability of software, none of these current go-to-market models is even relevant.
Some may be relevant, depends on domain, some may not be relevant.
Some of this I'm saying, it's not relevant. So this is going to open up a whole new opportunity in unimaginable way. I'm not able to, we are not a fortune tellers.
I wanted to add one more channel that ChatGPT didn't answer. Like we had search engine optimization in the days of Google, today there is a paper and work is being done on what is known as generative engine optimization, right? And so if somebody goes and asks ChatGPT, like, hey, what are the best no-code or low-code system that you should buy? How do you get ChatGPT to actually recommend Kissflow as one of the options, right? So that is work happening on generative engine optimization as well. So and maybe ChatGPT would start giving sponsored answers model. And here's an irony, right? Like a lot of SaaS companies like Freshworks are being asked the question, hey, you have been, your licensing model or pricing model has always been agent-based or named user-based.
Named user-based, yeah.
And do you see that getting disrupted with usage-based? While the answer is yes, if you look at ChatGPT today, a ChatGPT subscription is sold on a user base, right? With usage restrictions, but each one of us has a subscription. So I think a lot of change is going to come. But that's what makes it exciting.
So basically, change name of the game. I think the 6th point which came in the 5-step process is actually the channels. So don't assume anything. Keep on understanding how the change is happening, and you can paint the vision in the future the way you want as the technology evolves, right? So that's kind of template for creating the company in the SaaS age. And Suresh, I just want to pick that point on how do you pivot a traditional SaaS company? I know Kissflow is in a very, very interesting space of software automation space,
No,
right? I want to really benefit our friends, family, community of 4,000 plus or 6,500 plus companies. Some of them who are in this path or journey of deciding adapt or expire or adapt or die, right? So how do they pivot? Should they think of an exit? So it'll be good to understand your viewpoint on that.
No, I think there are a lot of there are specific SaaS offerings that are going to be completely disrupted. So I think let's put it into 3 buckets. Okay, there are some SaaS companies which are going to be completely disrupted with AI. They better exit. So that is an exit. There are certain SaaS companies that are going to get augmented benefit because of AI. They won't be disrupted, but if they don't, like what Girish said, adapt or die, if they don't adapt and implement, embrace AI fast enough, meaning customer support could also be one of the examples, right? Because Girish is in this space and he's already doing that. One of the reasons why he has taken the product strategy role is because he wants to bring back the AI into the company, which is really, he is doing that. So I think that's really what is the second category. Like I see some of the people are already doing outcome-based pricing, like tickets, for example, instead of agents. All of these changes are happening. That's a second bucket. And then there are a very small set of companies which I believe they could play a game-changing role in the AI world. And personally, I would like to put Kissflow in that category because it aligns with the creator economy. Girish used the word citizen development. I didn't use the word in my whole thing because I didn't want to pitch the product or anything like that. Not also because it's too jargonistic. So I just didn't want to use that word. The rough equivalent of creator economy in the development world is called the citizen developers. So I think companies like Kissflow, there are a few companies like that, they have a very, very unique opportunity to completely take advantage of the AI wave. And so if these are the 3 companies, 3 segments of companies.
Yeah, it's a good way to structure your thought process. And Avinash, you have the work cut out. We have been discussing that, right? So I think, so we can take some of these frameworks and then evangelize to our community and see how we can help the companies, right? And exit is one big question in the room, right?
Yeah.
Which Indian ecosystem has to solve any which ways, right?
Yeah.
In this entire adaptation versus die framework, I think if we can call it that,
Yeah.
I think we'll have to also as an
Adapt or
ecosystem
die,
figure
yeah.
out the exits for the existing companies. And that will unlock a lot of value, right? Billions of dollars have been invested in SaaS traditionally, right? Think of all the investors who invested in the previous or wave of SaaS as such, right? Till 2021, which was at its peak. So how the exits get crafted is a larger discussion for some other time. But I think we are very committed as SaaSBoomi to help companies and do that. I know you started M&A helpline also. I sold Lake, of course, 3 months back. So I did a session with SaaSBoomi about 2 months back with scaled up founders. I think so. Therefore, the last point in that 6 steps is start thinking of exit in somewhere in the journey of your company. Because also this riding the wave, which Girish and Suresh and all of us discussed today, is also an important aspect of how do you monetize the value from the startup. And as a founder, I can tell you that we never want to sell or leave our startup, right? We are identified with the software, with the startup, and a lot of time, our journey is with that company and startup is more important than a family in many, many ways, right? They are our family, in fact. So it's very hard to part ways with your startup. But there is a point in time where it's good to start discussing and understanding how a typical exit can be crafted. We'll have a separate session on that some other time, but that's something which we are working very closely now so that we can help the companies as we help as a pay it forward community. Without any cost, we just come and share our experience and how an exit can be crafted. Like Suresh has shared about 3 buckets, how he's thinking about Kissflow. So please feel to reach out to any one of us or any volunteer in SaaSBoomi to see how to navigate this challenge of adapt or die framework and where do you actually lie? We're happy to help you, and we'll come with more initiatives as well as we scale this pay it forward community. So one last question I want to ask all of you, including our co-host today, ChatGPT. So if you have to give one advice to the
Co-speaker.
Huh?
You are the host.
Yeah,
Co-speaker.
co-host, speaker, yes. So what is one advice to a startup founder today?
So I just made a mental note to tell some of the startups in my portfolio, just being fascinated by the responses. I want every employee and the founders every day to use ChatGPT. I think that would be a singular most important advice. So to stay relevant, to become more productive. So in fact, I want to put it on the wall saying, did you use ChatGPT today? Like drink water every hour. Did you use ChatGPT? Because
Screen time, Madri.
yeah, it's like
ChatGPT time.
I just think it's a habit formation, and I'm actually quite serious about it because we are not used to it yet, right? So how do we close the gap on acquiring knowledge? How do we leapfrog? I think and I think the way it's going to translate, if it took Freshworks 11 years to get to IPO, I think the next generation of AI startups can probably shrink that time to 6 or 7 years. If it took us 5 years and 2 months to go from 1 million to 100 million, probably it's going to take 3-4 years or even lesser for the next startup to go from 1 million to 100 million. So, and I think all of that is because of the productivity boost that we're going to get by leveraging AI. So leveraging AI for everything that we do has to become a habit and a muscle memory for our founders and everybody working in this journey. That's my advice.
I'm going to say like two interconnected things. One, I recently read this research report which Bill Gross, which is the legendary investor in the US, he published. And there is one magic number. I don't know whether Girish has read that recent report. He said, what is the probability of a runaway success? After venture invested company, only has taken the venture invested companies and defined what is a runaway success, and he looked at the calculation and they came up with the actual percentage, and that percentage is 0.13%. A company to get to a runaway success which is nothing but a big exit or a IPO. Like Girish is in one of those categories of the runaway success, which is the probability of that is 0.13%. So, which means the odds are very highly stacked against that runaway success. Very, very highly skewed. So, but it's easy to, first advice, it's easy to build a 10 million, 25 million, $50 million company and own significant chunk of that. And eventually you will anyway own only that much. If you, after all the dilutions, if you think about it, Girish probably owns 6% of the company today.
I have to check, I don't know. but it is public information.
It's public information, right? So 5 to 6% of the company, after 6, 7, 8 rounds of funding and IPO and all of that, you own 6, 7% of the company. So keep this calculation in mind and see what you're building. First point. Second point, as a young founder, consider, I think software development is what you invested as your unique advantage. I think that is getting democratized. If you are starting now, rethink this whole thing. Yes, you are the software person, but you need a founder or a co-founder in your team who brings that domain. Because the value for domain is going to lot more increase and the value for engineering is going to decrease. Since value for engineering, software engineering, meaning is going to decrease, the value for domain is going to increase, you rethink your software engineering delivery model in a AI augmented way. And then enhance your domain knowledge because that is what somebody else cannot do. You can actually do. You can be the first. And if you think about these two things, I think that's pretty much what I want to say. I can say a lot, but I don't want to.
Yeah,
say.
so he's given a recipe of success, right? How to think about capital table. You know, for the starters, capital table is the shareholder percentage you have in a company, and the success, of course, as a founders, you day one start with everybody, the world against you, right? You have to convince the world step by step, and then perhaps create a large outcome. And of course, don't forget the entire democratization of software. English is your new language, so learn it faster, learn it better, and learn the tools, like Girish said on ChatGPT, so you can marry both and therefore create this recipe of a great food which comes out of this kitchen of so-called startup. And Avinash?
So in other words, in an analogy, on the cap table, Suresh is saying, some of you can have 50% of a lemon, some of you can have 5% of a watermelon, both are good.
Exactly. And think about that. I think if you can create a watermelon, you should actually do that.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And share with everybody.
Everybody, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my feeling is, if India builds the next Microsoft or OpenAI, probably it'll be from this 22-year-old kid itself, without any baggage, quickly will build something and will make a massive impact. I think the next startup which we are seeing, and we hear about the Zepto founder, 22-year-old, we hear about him, the way he speaks and all that, so much of confidence, has very good knowledge. I think in the B2B SaaS or in this B2B space, we'll see someone like that coming and building from India for the world itself.
So there's a message for all the young founders who are in school, college, is, the word is there for you. You are the one next Satya Nadella or Bill Gates or Zepto founder and create a very, very large outcome. That's what Avinash would love to see.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to now not forget ChatGPT and ask what advice is, because they've been a wonderful co-host or speaker with us. So ChatGPT, we are just about to end the session and we're asking everybody, what is one advice you give to a startup founder in India to build a global company from India? What would be that advice?
If I had to give just one piece of advice to a startup founder in India aiming to build a global company, it would be think global from day one. This means that founders should not wait to establish a local base or focus only on the Indian market before expanding. From the very start, they should design products, business models, and customer experiences that appeal to a global audience. This involves 1. Hiring international talent early. Bringing in diverse perspectives can align product development with global needs. 2. Building a global sales strategy and presence. It's critical to explore channels beyond India, especially in key markets like the US, Europe, and Southeast Asia, where SaaS adoption is high. 3. Establishing international product market fit. Founders need to focus on identifying pain points that resonate across geographies, even if that requires tweaking their offering for different markets. Taking inspiration from companies like Freshworks and Zoho, Indian startups can leverage the cost advantage and talent pool in India, while also building customer-centric, localized experiences for global markets. The earlier a founder embraces this mindset, the smoother the path to global scalability and recognition will be.
All right, thank you. Thanks, ChatGPT. That was.
But this is where I think ChatGPT fails.
We'll see. We'll see.
See, I wanted to end this with one thing. Like, one of the power of human beings is imagination. What ChatGPT or AI is doing right now, at least, right? We have to wait till AGI comes. See, we are able to imagine a possibility which is not possible otherwise, and then put execution together, as Girish says, and create that new possibility which was not there in anybody else's mind. It was only in my mind or your mind or his mind. And we are able to make that reality happen. And that one, I don't know whether any technology can take away from human beings. We are all part of one shared imagination, right? If you really think about it, we are all part of one shared imagination. And that imagination is one thing that will keep the human race forward and not challenged with.
And that is why you should stay back for the event. Because you are living in
shared imagination.
A shared reality or fact. You're not imagining the possibility of how we can reshape and rethink of accomplishing it in a different way. Right? So
yeah, absolutely. So I think my one advice is stay hungry, stay foolish to all the founders. I think, and I'm going to end up with the one advice on Jeff Bezos on YouTube. I was listening to the video is that, it's really good to have a good job. We all dreamt for that, as we said, early years of in nation when you were growing up. Then it's really good to have a good career. You're a finance professional, then you become the CEO. But it's really rare to find a mission and a passion. I think we are all very lucky in a way.
Yeah.
Where it's like two states coming together. Both of you are from Chennai. Avinash and I are from Punjab or north of India, right? Really two states coming together, right? And Krish.
Agra.
Yeah, and Agra is in. Yeah, so I think that has brought us together. I think we're lucky to find a mission of Pay It Forward and building India as a product nation.
We are missing Krish.
Of course, we're missing Krish. We're going to bring him on Zoom later on for this discussion. We cannot miss him.
Yeah.
He's an integral part of the discussion. But it's really two states coming together, showing the power of just common mission, right? And that's what the volunteer system of SaaSBoomi is also, right? SaaSBoomi is not like a typical organization where you recruit people and create a very large organization. People come on their own, and these are founders whose time is really, really valuable. They give pay it forward. I think that's what I find myself really lucky to be part
SaaSBoomi
of
is
this.
entire India coming together.
Yes,
if you really have to say that.
But we also be lucky to find the mission. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So I think it's the advice to find is find your mission and passion and align your skills to that. I think that's where the recipe in my mind is to create a large outcome or whatever outcome that you define as success. So with this, I think I want to thank you, all of you. And I am Manav Garg, the host of this podcast, co-founder, managing partner along with Girish for Together Fund. And we'll continue the series on next big opportunity as we go along. And I'm going to leave this another 5-10 minutes of bonus segment for the founders, which is about, and this is a topic which is close to me and to Avinash also. We all went through a journey from middle class or privileged backgrounds. How do you think about mental wellness? All of us go through ups and downs, right? No business, no matter whether how smart you are, how intelligent you are, how big an opportunity it was, you go through ups and downs. There are times when you're going up, everybody's saying, oh, very well done, and everybody's behind you. You make one big mistake and everybody say, oh, start putting question mark on you, right? Because you're starting with odds stacked against you, right? And the time when I started, then funding was also not available, right? So what is your, if you have to leave, some thoughts on mental model on your wellness, right? Would be really helpful for current generation of founders and the coming generation of founders. So
I'll say something. I think the first thing I will say, there are two things I will say. First thing I will say is the mental wellness actually is very connected to the physical wellness. I think people do not see the connection. So first get your physical wellness in order, because finally all your hormonal imbalances, everything health, everything is interconnected. Your mental everything is interconnected, right? So get your physical wellness very much in shape. That is absolutely the number one priority you should do.
Yeah, the key point is let's start with the physical wellness first. And we know a lot of our friends and all friends, I didn't do any exercise for 15 years of my life. I was traveling crazy.
Yeah.
I only started to physical wellness actually after 15 years of building Eka, when already scaled up, and I traveled 29 days a month, 8, whatever came in front. Never thought about sleeping hours or not. All the time went into this thing, right?
No, this is a very important topic, and definitely agree on the physical wellness part. I will actually talk about a couple of realizations that I had from personal experience, right? So first of all, when you're really successful and things are going well, you don't tend to see founders get mental wellness issues.
Absolutely.
When the company quickly folds and shuts down and the founder moves on, then also you don't see mental wellness issue. It's when you're stuck in the middle, where you have something going, but you're not really breaking out. You're like you're not able to.
You're struggling.
You're struggling, right? So I think the first advice or lesson that I would give, because I realized that I was able to do that, is founders have to have the ability to look at their own problems from a third person's point of view. And for that, my life lesson is you have to separate passion and emotion. So we can all be passionately involved in our work, but we cannot be emotionally attached. So this is a life lesson for any situation in life, because people confuse that. People confuse passion and emotion. So I can be passionately working hard, but if I'm emotionally attached to it, I can never break that connection, right? So when I started Freshworks, the one thing was, okay, I'm going to try for 18 months. By the time I need to be able to launch the product and get to customer revenue, at least $1 million of revenue, or $500,000 or whatever. And if I'm not able to do that, I will type my resume and go and apply for a job in a larger company. I, in fact, promised my earlier team, I'll hire you also, right? So the success criteria was defined so that for me to compare and see, are we actually making real progress or not? And a lot of times I've met founders who spent 5 years, 7 years in the company. They always think, oh, if I build 4 more features, the customers will come. So you have to know every startup, whether you're building for large enterprise, whether you're building for SMB, a consumer, at the end of the day, you have a short time window by which you have to get to product market fit. You have to have built something that customers want and they're willing to pay, and you're monetizing and moving on. If that date is kind of being postponed, and you're emotionally attached, that's when the problems start to happen. So this is between the founder and the business and the emotional connect. So being able to separate passion and emotion is one. Being able to look at your own, that will enable you to look at your own business as from a third person point of view and take the right call. That, okay, is it working? It's not working. If it's not working, cut, move on. So that is fundamentally.
It's like projecting your image on the wall and looking back in again and understanding how things are going.
Really hard.
Great advice, yeah. It's hard, but yeah, there's a mental model to think about. I'm just summarizing what you're saying.
Or all of us listening to this podcast recording sitting in a room. So the second aspect of mental health wellness is about family and relationships. So a lot of times the lesson there is bringing awareness. So being self-aware as well as being aware of the family or your spouse's perspective or your children's perspective. Now, I learned this somewhere in the middle of the Freshworks journey. So I'm a diabetic, right? So when I wake up in the morning, like even on a Saturday, sometimes if my sugar levels are high, I'll wake up very tired and I would want to rest. But my kids would come and say, I want to play. Like, let's go and play football or cricket or whatever, right? So, and for me, I wasn't aware that, hey, I'm actually tired because of my sugar levels, or they are enthusiastic because this is their playing time. And if I don't go, it ends up in a disappointed kid, right? And the same thing with spouse. Like, okay, you come back home 7 p.m., pretty much after 10 meetings, and you're literally like wanting to crash. But like, if you have a spouse who especially is not working, has been waiting there for you all day, and she wants to go out for dinner or wants to go to the mall, like you are in no mood to go, right? And what really helped me was first being aware of my state of mind, being self-aware and having that conversation to say, hey, I'm like this because of this. Maybe it was something that happened in the company or because of my sugar, and then working to manage that. And also being aware that, see, sometimes you are dealing as a founder, you're dealing with 100 problems, like all the balls floating in the air. Those are big problems in your mind. And there'll be a small problem that my wife brings, like, okay, should I wear this dress for the event or should I wear that dress?
What do you want to eat tonight?
So I think in our mind, we always compare
That
this
problem.
with that, and for us it seems irrelevant. But then you have to be aware that in their world, that is the most important.
That is their
relevant.
entire world.
Yeah,
Sure.
Yeah.
So I think
That's
having this awareness, both about self and about what's important for them, actually helps you manage it better. And I think one trick to do that is get a dog. So because you will be able to understand the perspective of the dog. The dog just wants to spend time with you, wants food.
It's called
wants to
unconditional
take-
love, Girish.
Yeah, unconditional love, and wants to take you out. So you may have 100 problems in your company. It makes you forget all of that and really go into that world and understand that. So I think so those are two important lessons in managing wellness that I think every founder has to be able to.
And you also know how to clean shit.
Yes.
If you get a dog.
That's the real work anyways. Avinash, I know you have started multiple initiatives, Jaga along with Pankaj Mishra also. So what is your perspective, short summary of perspective on mental wellness? And you've seen, I know you're close to many, many founders, maybe hundreds and thousands who come and talk to you about your personal issues or mental wellness issues. So what do you think are the few things that founders should think about?
See, I think one very good thing that we've been able to do is actually build a very good support network for founders itself. At times, it's also not a good thing because they're just coming for that support network itself, less about learning from each other or something. But I think every founder should have at least 2 or 3 founder friends whom he or she can actually reach out when required. A lot of them don't really have good friends where they can open up and talk about everything itself. I think, as Jaga, we do a lot of these retreats itself, and where founders are actually, sharing their journey, giving them some insights, giving them some tips, some techniques on how they can manage themselves better and all that. A lot of times, all of us also do get a lot of signals about the founders itself. Rather than waiting for the founder to get back, I think a lot of times I am very proactive to reaching out to founders itself. He or she might be going through something. So we'll reach out with them saying, hey, all well, hoping, that they can, at least open up and talk about what they're doing and all that. So those are also some of the things that we've started doing now. But yeah, I think wherever possible, we do offer help. But as Girish said, probably for the founder, it should be more about they being self-aware about how the body functions, what is that thing which is going and all that. I think that is more important than anything else.
I'll give you my experience. I have a lot of ups and downs in the business, and I started when there's nobody was there in the ecosystem. Literally, no VCs, no founder friends, also, right?
Yeah.
That's why we started F6, which
Yeah.
Girish and I were very close.
Yeah.
So I think my first learning through that is being very vulnerable. I'm okay to discuss my failures. There are times I feel really bad, and we have a lot of discussions, Avinash. Sometimes I will shout at you, sometimes I talk, very freely. Sometimes I'm speaking in love. Something is happening with Girish also, right? When we talk to each other. So I am okay being vulnerable.
Yeah.
Because I know I will make mistakes, and I don't, I'm okay to say sorry if I make the mistake. Genuinely, obviously all mistakes cannot be reversed. So I think being vulnerable, which is the hardest thing to achieve in my mind, is really goes a long way in taking this entire pressure off. Because this, what you're talking about, Suresh, is word is expecting from you. Your parents, in Indian context, expects a lot from you. Your family is expecting, like you said, your wife you want to come home. She wants to be loved. She wants to be listened to, first of all. And you are in your word. Because investors are having demands if you have investors on the cap table. And you have then employees who also want to speak to you at any point in time, right? So suddenly the entire world has huge expectation from you, and you don't know what to expect from yourself, right? Nobody's thinking about yourself. That's the whole question of self-awareness. But you are catering to somebody's expectation 24/7. Right. And that really puts a lot of pressure on your mind. But if you become vulnerable, which says, guys, I am really tired.
Yeah.
I am not able to handle this. And I am not an expert in this. So there are multiple frameworks of vulnerability that you can talk about. But I think being vulnerability, which means talking about your weaknesses and accepting the weaknesses openly, I think goes a long way in taking that pressure off. And it is not an easy thing to achieve. I admit that. It takes a lot of practice and a lot of courage also, many times, to come out very openly as to what you don't know. If you're a failure, you say, guys, I failed in my business, right? But going up to your father, who's a middle class, going to probably bank and expecting my son is going to give me a first crore or first 10 crores is a very hard thing to walk up to, right? Or going to a child, I cannot take you to a holiday this time, right? Because my business is in a downturn. It's very difficult because he's seeing his, father in media, right? Today, or father or mother, right? If she is an entrepreneur. Today, media also, talks about every startup. You got this huge funding, but business is not doing well, right? Or you want to return capital to your investors, right? How are you going to approach that subject? That I took $20 million from you, business is not doing well. I would rather shut down and take some time off and then start over again, right? There's no bad thing about failure. So it has improved a lot because a lot of discussions happen. So that is one big learning that I have, being vulnerable. Second thing is invest in long-term relationships. So, and that's also easier said than done, right? So I've been very lucky to get a family. My wife has been very supportive. I can speak to her like a friend. And same with children as well. And then also I was very lucky to get very good employees, or first few employees at Eka, who stayed with me for 10 to 15 years. And we're going to talk more about it and build narrative on it as one of another agenda. As we talk about large opportunities, I think this is also something we need to take along and build a good mental resilience and physical resilience model. So with that, thank you very much.
And to all the viewers of this podcast, I want to make sure we have an important disclaimer. So this is a friendly banter between three founders and an ecosystem player who had this dream of India as a product nation probably 11 years ago. And today we are having this friendly conversation to explore the possibilities of the future, the disruption that AI is bringing in, and how to capitalize on the progress that we have made as an ecosystem and see what are some of the threats and opportunities ahead of us. During the course of this episode, we have picked examples of companies and named some of these companies just for illustrative purposes. This was not a scripted video. And so we were just trying to hypothesize and explore what could be potential threats. So I want to make sure that everybody is clear that there is no intent to misalign or talk negatively about any company involved. And these views are not representative of our employers. So this is a friendly banter between friends who all believe in the dream of India as a product nation. And I would request all viewers to take that in that context. Thank you.